Namaste. In the previous session, we discussed about the meaning of management, the meaning of efficiency and effectiveness. Then we discussed about the characteristic features of management. Then we discussed about importance of management and objectives of management. Now we are going to go for a very interesting topic, really very interesting topic about what is the nature of management. Is management an art? Is management a science? Or has management gained the status of a full-fledged profession? Now please remember, the term management, the usage of management is as old as Indus Valley civilization or even before. There had been management, and we find a contrasting difference between two organizations, one very effectively managed and the other no management at all. So, it's only the way in which the organization is being conducted determines the success of management. So, over a period of time, management has evolved and management has taken different shapes. Earlier, there can be anybody who can become managers, and some people, by virtue of being senior in the organization, become managers. But now the trend is changing. Educated business people, educated managers, managed organizations is all the new terms that we come across. So, it is better that we learn the dimensions of management or we learn the nature of management. We shall be discussing about management as an art, management as a science and management as a profession. Under each, we shall be learning the meaning of art or meaning of science or meaning of managed profession. Then we shall be discussing about the characteristic features of art, science and profession. Then we shall be comparing management with art, management with science and management with profession. Please remember, we are going to keep the art or science or profession as constant, and we are going to vary the features of management with profession or with art or with science. So please keep it in mind that we are only comparing management with other things and other things are not compared with management. What is exactly art? So art is the existence of theoretical body of knowledge which is drawn by personal creativity and experience. So any branch of knowledge to be considered to be art should have a theoretical base, but the success of it depends upon the skill, the personal skill and creativity of the user. So, features of art, existence of theoretical body of knowledge. Any branch of knowledge to be considered to be an art should have a theoretical body of knowledge. You take music. Now, for music, it is not merely the singing of the songs. There will be theory classes wherein the learner is taught about the basic of music, how music has been evolved, different ragas, different compositions. They are given theory training. Then only they become successful musicians. We can just listen to so many songs and we can sing. But the raga, the voice modulation, the shrutis, everything will change only when a person learns the theory base of music. Similarly for dance or cooking or art, painting, drawing, sculpting, everything has got a theoretical base. Only then can that be considered to be a branch of knowledge as art. The second one is personalized application. This is where there is a difference between one person and another person in terms of the art that they are learning. We have so many eminent Carnatic classical singers. Why is it some of us are addicted to one person's music while the other person is addicted to another person's music? Why are we listening to some type of music late in the night? Why are we going to the music associations and academies to listen to music concerts, etc.? Why? Why should we one person enjoy a prominence while the others go unnoticed also? Depends upon the personal skill each and every individual has. Anything for that matter, any art, whether it is classical, Bharatanatyam or Kuchipudi or Kathak or any other dance, or you take it as a western dance or the classical dance, etc., or you take it as western music and classical music and other things, or you take into consideration the drawing, different types of drawings. So everywhere there is a difference, and every individual in each type of art also there is a variation, because each and every individual is unique. They have their own capabilities, they have their own creativity to bring in. So, how each individual is able to apply the knowledge that they have acquired depends upon each and individual's capacity. So, art is personalized. The creativity and application is absolutely personal. Similarly, art involves continuous practice and creativity. I learned music 25 years before, fine. But unless and until you keep continuously practicing and explore new avenues in music, we cannot be very, very successful. So, a good artist is the one who is continuously exploring new avenues and continuously involves himself or herself into practice. So, these are the three features of art. So, art has got a theoretical body of knowledge. So, there are thinkers and philosophers who are propounding philosophies and theories on art. And there are institutions which are offering courses on art. Any artist will be successful and he can be distinguished from that of the other person only by his personal skill. How effectively he is able to personalize and apply the skill depends upon his creativity. So, art involves personalized application, and a good artist is the one who involves himself into continuous practice and who is creative in nature. Only then he can be a successful artist. Now, after learning the features of art, we are going to compare the features of management with features of art. Number one, the existence of theoretical body of knowledge. Yes, management also has theoretical body of knowledge. There are educational institutions which are offering courses on management. There are researchers and thinkers who are constantly exploring and bringing out new theories on management. Therefore, in this angle we can say, yes, management satisfies the feature of art. The second one, personalized application. There is a clear-cut distinction between manager 1 and manager 2 in terms of their application of skills. The knowledge that they have acquired, how differently are they able to exhibit their skill depends upon their usage. So, every manager is a unique person and his success lies in the way how he applies the knowledge that he has acquired. So, application is personalized. Number 3, most important one is manager also will be successful only when he practices the principles of management continuously and he brings in creativity. There is a difference between two different COOs, two different CFOs, two different managing directors, because each and every individual practices their skills in different way and they bring in creativity. So in this aspect also we can say that management satisfies the features of art. So when we compare management with features of art, management satisfies all the features of art. So we can say that management is an art. But the next question is management a fine art? We cannot completely conclude that management is a fine art because it has some tinge of science. Therefore, we can say that management is an art but not a fine art. Now, let us discuss what do you mean by management as a science. Then we will find out, is management as a pure science as physics or chemistry? Is management as an art? Is management both science and art? Or is management neither science nor art? Now coming to the features of management as a science. What is science? Science is a systematic body of knowledge wherein the principles are drawn by observation, analysis and experimentation. So I repeat, what do you mean by science? Science is that branch of knowledge which has a systematic body wherein the principles are drawn by observation, analysis and experimentation. Right from the invention of wheel to the spacecraft to the satellites, we find everywhere the principles are drawn by observation, analysis and experimentation. So, now what are the features of science? Number 1, science has a systematic body of knowledge. knowledge. Everything is very systematic. So there is a sequence of activities to be learned. There are educational institutions which are offering courses on science and which has a well-defined syllabus. So science has got a systematic body of knowledge. Number 2, all the principles of science. Please remember, no principle of science is drawn by trial and error method or hit and rule method. Every principle of management is drawn by experimentation, observation, analysis and experimentation. So there cannot be a change in the output if given the particular input. To that extent, scientific principles are very, very accurate. The next one is, all the principles of science have universal validity, whether it is Asia or Europe or Australia or whether it is India, China or any other country. Everywhere the principles of science have universal validity. So anywhere it is applied, it will give the same output only. To that extent, principles of science have universal validity. And all the principles have cause-effect relationship. So, principles of science can be clearly told that if this is a cause, this will be the output. Now, having learned the features of science, let us compare features of management with features of science. Number 1, existence of systematic body of knowledge. Yes, I already told you, gone are the days when people become managers just like that, or people were elevated from one post to the another post by virtue of seniority. Nowadays it is not so. Educated managers is a need of the hour, and every organization is nowadays is becoming a managed organization. So that being the case, management is also a systematic body of knowledge. There are very many management institutions which are offering courses on management. There are researchers and scholars who are continuously experimenting on the branch of knowledge as management, and the results are being universally applied. So, all the principles of management have systematic body of knowledge. The second one is principles based on experimentation. Most of the principles of management are also drawn by observation, analysis and experimentation. Let us take one example of the principle of unity of command. The principle of unity of command says every subordinate will be reporting to only one superior at a time. Every subordinate will be receiving instructions from only one superior at a time. That means if the subordinate receives instruction from two superiors at the same time, he will not be able to complete the work because he will be confused as to whose work or orders to follow first. Psychologically, he may tend to prioritize the work of the manager who is pressurizing more than a person who is handling him in a very gentle way. And there will be dual subordination and it will lead to chaos and confusion. So, this principle of unity of command cannot just like that be drawn. It would have been observed, analyzed, then only the principle is being drawn. Let me give you one more example. The principle of scalar chain. The principle of scalar chain says in any organization, the communication should flow from the top level to the lower level through proper channels of communication only. Otherwise, the information will get distorted and it will lead to spread of rumors also. In a formal organization, communication should flow from the top level to the lower level through prescribed channels of communication only. Similarly, reports, feedback and grievances of the employees should flow from the lower level to the top level through prescribed channels of communication only. Otherwise, the output cannot be successful at all. So, these principles cannot be just like that adopted. It is not by the rule of thumb. It is by constant observation, analysis and experimentation. So, in this aspect also we can say that management satisfies the features of science. Coming to the third one, coming to what is called as universal validity. Please remember, all the principles of management have universal applicability. All the principles of management have universal applicability. But coming to universal validity, it is very difficult to define management. We discussed that in principles of science, everything is very accurate. Decisions are very precise. Fine, we can ensure precision in the output because everything is predetermined. But in case of management, that precision is a question mark because management deals with human beings whose behavior is absolutely unpredictable. Employee X, who was very, very sincere and very, very effective yesterday, we cannot expect the same efficiency today. Maybe he has his own health issues, he has his own psychological issues, etc. So the precision cannot be completely ensured when human beings are involved. There is a definitely difference between humans and non-humans. Machines can be synchronized. Functioning of the machines can be precisely defined, whereas functioning of the human beings cannot be precisely defined. That is why it is said that universal validity is there for science, whereas universal applicability is there for management. So in this aspect, management does not satisfy to be a full-fledged science, perfect science like physics or chemistry. Yes, it has many features of science, but doesn't satisfy a full-fledged status of a science. So we can say that management is an inexact science or youngest science. Why? Because it is of recent origin, about 200 years. Whereas we find physics, chemistry existing in time immemorial. So in that aspect, we can say that management is an inexact science or youngest of all sciences. But it will be very apt to call management as a social science. Management as a social science because it has the human element. Now coming to the comparison between management as science and management as art, we can say that management satisfies majority of the features of science and all the features of art. We can say that it is a perfect combination of science and art. So it is not a pure science, it is not a fine art, but it has all elements of art and science. So we can say that it is an inexact science. And since it is of recent origin, we call it as youngest of all sciences and a social science. Now, having completed management as an art and management as a science, we are now going to explore is management a profession. Now, I told you already, gone are the days when a person joins one particular organization at the age of 19 or 20, retires from the same organization at the age of 60. He will have about 38 to 40 long years of service in the same organization. He would have joined the organization as a class 4 employee and he might retire as general manager or assistant general manager also. He would have rose up to the position by virtue of being senior in the organization. But there may be many subordinates who have a better qualification than him but who will remain to be a subordinate to him. No doubt, we cannot undermine seniority, no doubt at all. But educational qualification and exposure to the new changes that have come into the organization should be considered. Now, the environment is changing, fast changing, and the management is expected to be dynamic and adapt itself to the changes. So, today's management is no longer expecting only the senior most or experienced staff. They also expect educated, professionally qualified managers to take up the position of a COO or a CFO or a finance controller, etc. So now we are going to discuss whether management satisfies all the qualities of a good profession. Is management a full-fledged profession like medicine or engineering? That is going to be our topic for discussion now. What is a profession? Any profession is a well-defined branch of knowledge with restricted entry and a service motive. So, any profession to be called itself to be a profession should have a well-defined body of knowledge. That means there should be educational institutions which are offering courses on the particular profession. It should have a restricted entry. There should be a service motive. These are all the expected qualities of a good profession. Now, what are the features of profession? Now, any profession to be considered as a profession should have a well-defined body of knowledge. There should be educational institutions which are offering courses on the respective profession. There are researchers and scholars who are propounding new theories which are going to be universally accepted. So, that is one first feature of a profession. The second one, there must be a restriction in terms of entry-level examinations to enter into any profession. So, there should be a restriction in terms of entrance examinations and qualifying examinations. Any profession for that matter will have a restricted entry, so that only those who are able to qualify the restricted entrance examination will proceed further into the profession. So, you find law examinations, you find medical engineering entrance examinations, etc., wherein every individual takes up the qualifying examinations to proceed further. So, any profession, any branch of knowledge to be considered as a profession has a professional association to monitor the functioning of the professionals of that particular field. For example, doctors are being governed, given guidelines by the Indian Medical Association. The lawyers are governed by the rules and regulations framed by the Bar Council. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, or the Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India are the statutory bodies which govern the functioning of the respective professionals in that respective field. So, there is a professional association to monitor the functioning. The next one is, there is an ethical code of conduct prescribed by the professional association to be followed, to be adhered by the respective professionals, which if violated will lead to punitive action also. So, because of that, they are expected to work in that direction only, and 99.99% of the professionals are expected to accept the profession on a service motive. So, any professional, a doctor for example, takes up the profession of being a doctor to serve the society. So, service motive is also one of the features of profession. Now, having learned the features of profession, when we are going to compare the features of management with features of profession, we will have different conclusion. Now, coming to the first one is well-defined body of knowledge. Management satisfies this feature because there are educational institutions which are offering courses on management. There are philosophers and thinkers and researchers who are doing lot of extensive research on management and draw their conclusion, which are being accepted, which are being again brought into the curriculum in the educational institutions. So, in this respect, we can say that management satisfies the feature of a profession. The second one is restricted entry. This is where there is a basic difference between one manager and another manager. Though there are many of the institutions, many of the organizations which hire professionally qualified managers, still there are certain organizations which believe in seniority than academic qualification. So, any person by virtue of being senior or by any method can become a manager. There is no restriction as to becoming a manager by any particular person. So, in this angle, we can say that management does not satisfy the quality of a profession. The next one is professional association. Though there is an All India organization called IMA, All India Management Association. So, there is an organization called IMA. Anybody can register himself to be a manager through IMA. But there is no hard and fast rule that a person should be a part of IMA to become a manager. Whereas a person can practice as a doctor or a lawyer only when they have registered and got the membership from the respective professional association. A practicing chartered accountant, a practicing company secretary must get the certificate of practice before going in as a chartered account auditor or a company secretary. And everybody should have a membership from the respective professional association to be called as a particular professional. Whereas there is no specific restriction or eligibility for an individual to become a manager. So therefore there is no restriction at all. Similarly, there is no prescribed code of conduct for any particular manager. So, in this aspect also we can say that management does not satisfy the feature of a profession. The last one is service motive. Majority of the managers are paid employees. So, their main aim is to earn profit or earn income. So, if he is going to be a businessman come manager, he will aim for profit. If he is going to be an employee manager, he will look for high pay package. So ultimately, they are only working for money and not service. So service motive is not their criteria to become a manager. So in this aspect also, we can say that management does not satisfy the feature of a profession. So when we discuss about the various features of management with the various features of profession, we are able to understand that management satisfies only one feature of profession fully, and some of the features are being partly accepted, partly being followed by the managers. So in this way we can say that management has not gained the full-fledged status of a profession. But we cannot again rule out that management is not a profession at all. That way also we cannot rule out, because we are in the 21st century wherein the organizations are fully professionalized. So there are very many organizations which are hiring employees who are professionals only. So that being the case, we can say that management is slowly moving towards the direction of a full-fledged profession. So there will be a state where management satisfies all the features of my profession. So we can say that management is slowly moving towards the status of a full-fledged profession. So we have discussed about what do you mean by management as an art, what do you mean by management as a science, and what do you mean by management as a profession. So the next session we shall be discussing about levels of management and coordination, the very important aspect. Namaste.